Thank you, Hindi team. Now we are moving to English session. Today is our 1364th day of continuous webinar. Thank you all the faculties, all the participants for your cooperation and enthusiasm. And I'm really thankful to all faculties, those who are sharing their knowledge with spirit and love. Thank you. Thank you so much. And today is our guest is Dr. Manish Azad Singh. He is actually not our guest, he is our host. Most of the time he is moderating our Hindi session, even English too. He's a good communicator and he's a good interpersonal skilled person. No need of any introduction. I think you might have aware about Dr. Manish. Even though somebody is joining as a new participants, you might know about him. He's running a clinic, Divine Homeopathy Clinic in Varanasi. It's for 33 years. You look so young. 33 years experience.
Second generation. Second generation.
Yeah, I was thinking like that, even though I thought like that. Okay. And he's a good teacher. He's a medical blog writer. And he's conducted many studies like Tinea corporis and one more, one more. I think you can say, Doctor. I was.
It's LUTS, lower urinary tract symptoms, and knowledge and behavioral attitude has to be surveyed for that.
Really, today's subject also very good subject, obsessive compulsive disorder. I am inviting Dr. Manish for conducting today's session. So grateful, sir. Come, please.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm about to share my screen.
Yeah, you are not the co-host? Yeah.
I am, ma'am. I am.
Yeah, you can share.
Is this screen visible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Clear.
Okay.
Good.
So today's topic is understanding obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Sorry for the 2 minutes which got delayed. And we have already discussed about the cluster B diseases. Okay. From the beginning only, I'm discussing about compulsive personality. In the beginning only, I'm discussing about personality disorders. And today we are discussing about obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So from the beginning, let's understand what are personality disorder. Okay. So personality disorders are what? A group of mental health disorders, a condition which has enduring patterns of behavior, cognition, inner experience that deviate significantly from cultural expectation. So now what we have to understand is there is always a comparing parameter, okay? That you are too short. If someone is saying you are too short, then obviously they're comparing you with a person who is for 6 feet height, okay? Then 5 feet is short. If you are comparing it in China, then obviously 5 feet is a normal height, okay? So how can we signify or how can we understand that a person is suffering from personality disorder? We take the parameter from the normal person, okay? If someone has enduring patterns from a long time and it deviates from the normal stimulus or from the normal pattern of life, then they are diagnosed as personality disorder, okay? And this is not diagnosed in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, okay? If a person is suffering, say someone died in someone's family, okay? And he's suffering from grief and anxiety. So they will not be diagnosed as personality disorder, because for diagnosing someone with personality disorder, that disorder or that behavioral pattern should be throughout a long time, okay? May it be 5 years, may it be 10 years, but not less. And how can we understand that? For understanding that, we have DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, that is DSM-5. DSM-5 helps us to understand personality disorder in a better way. Then coming to the type of personality disorder. There are 3 types of personality disorder on the basis of cluster. Cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. Cluster A is odd or eccentric disorders. So order eccentric disorders are of three types: paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, and schizotypal personality disorder. Then there is cluster B. Cluster B is antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. We have already discussed on this platform about all these four personality disorders. So cluster B is over. Today we are discussing about cluster C. So in cluster C, we are talking about anxious or fearful personality disorders. These are of three types: avoidant personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, and obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Today, we are talking about obsessive compulsive personality disorder. So let's understand first, what is obsessive compulsive personality disorder? Firstly, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder and obsessive compulsive disorders are two different things. OCPD and OCD are not the same thing, okay? We will discuss that in later, that what is the basic difference between OCPD and OCD, but both are not the same thing, okay? OCPD is a mental health condition. In this, there is a preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, mental and interpersonal control, and excessive attention to detail. Okay. So these are the people who want each and everything perfect in their life. Okay. In their life and around them, they want each and everything perfect. They do not tolerate any kind of thing which disturbs their normal life. Okay. They do not tolerate anything which is less than perfect. So they run towards perfectionism. There is a pre-desire for orderliness. They want perfectionism. They want mental and interpersonal control. Means each and every kind of control which they can get, they want it. Okay. People with OCPD often have a strong need for control and they may struggle with flexibility. Okay. So people around them, they talk about them that they are not flexible. They are very rigid. If they are talking that you have to be here at 8, then they will not tolerate 8:05. Okay. They will only tolerate 7:59. If they're talking about 8 p.m., then you have to be here up to 7:59, not 8:01, not 8:02, or not 8:03. Okay. So a perfect desire for perfectionism and a strong control is required. They are not flexible at all. Now going back to the history, who first gave obsessive compulsive personality disorder? So obsessive compulsive personality disorder was first described in 19th century and early 20th century. And it was firstly described in the psychiatric literature by German psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin. Okay. So Emil Kraepelin firstly described OCPD. Kraepelin work basically laid the foundation, which the modern world now know as obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Okay, so basically the Emil Kraepelin in 19th century gave the basic foundation, which we today know as OCPD. Okay, obsessive compulsive disorder, personality disorder was the first known in DSM-3. Okay, now in the modern days, what we read in 21st century is DSM-5. Okay, so it was firstly known and it was firstly accepted in DSM-3, which came in 1980s. Okay, let's understand the basic key features. What are the basic key features of OCPD? So as we are talking about, the first basic key feature which we have to understand is perfectionism. They have a very high standard. They have a very high bar for each and everything in their life. And they always want each and everything around them to be met at that standard. Okay. If it's something like a beauty pageant. Okay. If they have something, if they have a standard set that I'll take each and everyone, if you have a 5'6" of height, and if you have 50 kg of weight, and this length of hairs, and this sort of neck, and this sort of nose, so they want each and everything perfect. They will not take anyone who is more than 60, and not anyone who is less than 5'6". So it is something like that. They have a bar and standard set for each and everything, and they'll always try to take people around them to meet that standard. Okay. There is a strong need for organization. There is a strong need for tidiness. So orderliness is always required. And that is why this collides with OCD. Okay. Because usually people know OCD with only the cleanliness matter. Okay. That if a person is suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder, then he'll try to wash his hand 30 times and he'll try to clean everything. So it is not just that. Okay. In OCPD, orderliness is just a part of it. Mental and interpersonal control. obviously a person suffering from OCPD wants each and everything in his control, because he wants each and everything perfect, and he thinks that he is the only right person to know that. So he'll try to control each and everything. He'll try to sabotage each and everything, because he is the only right person in the room, and he only knows the right way how to do each and everything correctly. Okay, so he'll not take your opinion as an option. Only his option is correct, only his things are correct, and only his way of doing is the right way of doing. Okay, so he always desired that mental and interpersonal control. Hoarding of object, since these person obviously they do not have any attachment or sentiment kind of thing with the old things, but they have a behavior of hoarding things. Okay, they hoard old kinds of stuff in their life. The reason is because you don't know which kind of thing you can use in your future. Okay, as let's take an example. Army persons always use torch very carefully, and they always have a torch in their bag. Okay, and this is because they have been trained that if you go in a hole and if you go in a cave, then that torch is necessary. Okay, these kinds of person hoard that kind of object. Okay, and this is like they can hoard old files, they can hoard old pages which can be of no value to you, but can be of many value to them. Okay, so they are a kind of hoarder. Okay, if we talk about this hoarding of objects, if a rubric comes in a mind, medicines are mainly arsenic and sulfur. Arsenic and sulfur are two people who hoards old object, who hoard many kind of things which can't be of value to you, but it adds many kind of value in their life. Inflexibility, obviously we were talking about people who are suffering with OCPD. They are very rigid, they are inflexible, they won't understand your opinion, they only want their opinion to be understood. And then there is rigidity. Obviously, when a person is inflexible, then he is rigid. Firstly, perfectionism. Let's understand it in detail. Individuals who are suffering with OCPD, they often set excessively high standard for themselves. And that is why they are also dissatisfied, and that is why you are also dissatisfied. So a person who is suffering from OCPD, since they are very high in their standards, so people around them, they're always saying that this person takes everything out of us, every juice out of us, and then also he's not satisfied that we do the right thing. Okay, and he's also dissatisfied that I wanted this to 99.9%, but you delivered me 98.6%, and that is a problem. So he is also dissatisfied by your work, and you are also dissatisfied by that person, because he's a perfectionist and he has a very high bar and high standard for each and everything. This perfectionism can be relentless, pervasive, and across various aspects of life. This can include work, this can include relationship, and this can also include personal pursuit. Okay, so people who are suffering from OCPD, this kind of perfectionism can be in each and everything. If we understand perfectionism in detail, then we have to firstly understand that they deliver that. Okay, if you are talking about perfectionism, these are the person who deliver that by giving time. Okay, if this kind of person is working in a what can we say, if in an MNC or in a in a people talking business, then they give whole of their time. Okay, if you have given time that you have to be here at 9 and you have to leave at 6, you have to achieve this kind of mark, then they do all that, they deliver that. Okay, and these are the people who work like machine, and that's why the medicine Nux Omega comes in the show, because these are the person who wants to deliver that target, whatever you have given to them. Okay, so that is why that level of perfectionism we are talking about. It's not about that you have gotten 80% and 80% above, then you are perfect. No, these are the persons which we are talking about are like 95% and 98% and 100%. These are not satisfied by 80% or 60%. Then we have to talk about orderliness. They have a strong need for order and organization in each and everything. Okay, they are a people who look meticulous. They arrange object. They believe in detail. Okay, so in a recent interview, I was looking, and there were these celebrities talking about Hira Mandi, and they were talking about Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and they were saying that this guy thinks in very much detail that this curtain should be there, and this flower vase should be there, and this table should be there. So this kind of meticulous observation is in a person who is suffering from OCPD too. Okay, I'm not saying that Sanjay Leela Bhansali is suffering from OCPD, but I'm just saying that if a person who is suffering from OCPD, he has that kind of desire for orderliness. He wants certain things at very certain places. Okay, and any kind of disorder or any kind of chaos that can cause significant distress and anxiety for them. Okay, so if you entered in their room and you have disturbed that table, and you have disturbed some notepad from here to there, and they can notice that. If they walked into that room, and they will say that who barged into my room and who came here and who put that thing into there. Okay, so they noticed each and everything, and they may feel a sense of uneasiness or distress if someone else disturbs that orderliness. Okay, the next is controlling. They are very controlling person. Okay, they often struggle with relinquishing control over situation or task. Okay, so these kind of person are not very good in a group project. Okay, they are very good in a personal project. If you are defining them with a task, then they'll do that task easily, because it's easy for them. They have a very disciplined life, and they can do that for work. But if you are assigning them a group task, then that is a very problematic business for them. They may insist on having things done their own way, because their own way is only the right way according to them. Your way is not the right way. So this need for control extends in interpersonal relationship too, and they can be overly critical about others. They can be overly critical about actions, difficulty trusting others, and they never want to meet anyone else's standards. They have their own standard, they have their own bar in their own life, and they will not understand you. Okay, consider this kind of individual working in a group project. Okay, then they will insist that I would be the group head. They will insist that this table should be blue. They will insist that this kind of computer or this kind of work should be taken, and this kind of work should not be taken. This kind of food should be served, and this kind of food should not be served. This kind of flower should be on table, and this kind of flower should not be on table. So they want that kind of control. They want to be the head of each and everything. Okay, so mental and interpersonal control is very much important in their life. The next is hoarding. If you see this image, you know that this kind of a person is hoarding each and everything in their life. And this might not serve any kind of importance or sentimental value to you, but in their life, it adds a lot of value. Okay. So in only this kind of variation, the hoarding of object kind of thing can add a discomfort in orderliness. Okay. So this is the only vice versa thing which you can see in a person suffering from OCPD. In the beginning, OCPD persons always have that kind of orderliness or tidiness and tardiness in their life. But later on, the hoarding of objects when take place, then obviously that orderliness can be disprogrammed, because there are a lot of things, and a lot of things cannot be placed in order. Okay, so obviously that kind of problem can be seen in a person. That is why it is written while not present in all cases, because in maximum cases orderliness is there. Hoarding of objects come later. So if a person comes in the beginning of his stage in OCPD, you will not see hoarding of object in their life. They may have difficulty discarding item which is of little practical value to you. Okay, but this behavior can contribute to clutter and disorganization in their living space. They can have a struggle to throw away old newspaper, old magazines, believing that they can be used as a reference in future. Okay, so these people, these are the people there are people in our lives who have things which are 5-year-old or 10-year-old or 25-year-olds. Let's talk about those friends in your life who have a eraser you gave them or gifted them 10 years ago, or some female or male friends in your life who have some gift which adds no practical value to you, but they have it in addition of a memory that you gave me this first time. Okay, which you obviously don't remember, but they remember that. Okay, so hoarding of object adds value in their life. Okay, but could not be in your life. Okay, then there is inflexibility. Inflexibility and rigidity comes hand in hand. Okay, these are the person who are not flexible and not adaptable. Okay, people say that change is the nature of environment. You always have to adapt, and you always have to change according to your environment, but these people are not so easy for that. These are the person who are inflexible and are very rigid. Let's talk about the people who are of first generation, and if you are of the third generation, then you would be called as Gen Z. And these Gen Z people want each and everything according to data, according to computer, and they want each and everything inserted in that computer, and they will be as per computer, that this patient has came, then feed that name on computer, and the details will already appear. Okay, and Now the first generation person would not rely on that computer. They will always rely on that register, that what you have written about that patient and what you have the data in the past about that patient. Okay, so take out that register, take out that paperwork, what you have done about that patient. Okay, so this is the basic difference. And they are inflexible about that. They are very rigid that no, I don't want computers help, I don't want any bahi khatas help, I want that register. What you have registered till now, take out that and give me that, show me that what you have already registered. Okay, so that is the basic difference which we have to understand here, that these people are very rigid, they are inflexible. And if they have a very exact time of breakfast, then they will have that very certain time of breakfast, that 6 a.m. I feel very hungry, then 12 a.m. I want something to eat, then 6 p.m. I want an appetizer, and 9 p.m. I want a dessert. So it would be like that, that their daily life is according to that only. Okay, so that kind of inflexibility or rigidity we are talking about here. Consider a person who is suffering from OCPD. They believe that completing a task is the only correct method by their way only. Okay, so they will not work with others, and they dismiss each and every criteria which you give to them. Okay, they only feel that their criteria or their way of doing certain things in a certain way is the only correct way, and whatever you suggest to them is the wrong way. Okay, so that is why the rubrics which we are talking about, obviously I'm a repertory student, so rubrics comes into mind if I talk about each and everything, are anarchist, dictatorial, sorry, anarchist, censorious. These all comes in mind when we are talking about things like this. Okay, rigidity and inflexibility. Then there are some other key features. Obviously, if a person is very perfectionist, then there comes a thing, excessive devotion to work. These are the people who are excessively devoted to work. If a manager says to you that you have to be here at 6 and you have to do this data any kind in any way up to tomorrow 6 a.m., then they'll sleep in the office and they'll do that work. They don't have any problem in that. These are the people who are excessively devoted to work. They don't think that they have their own life anything beyond that work. Okay, so these are the people who are very much devoted to their work, and they have very much difficulty in decision making, difficulty with decision making, because they have too much attention to the detail, and they'll not compromise. Okay, so the problem comes here, that if you have a budget of 15,000 and they want certain things of 20,000, then there is always a difference in decision making, that this thing is cheap, I don't want it, and the boss says that no, we don't have budget. Then comes the dilemma and problem, that oh my god, how can this be happen? Okay, so understand this thing, that they are so rigid that they can have difficulty with decision making, and this difficulty do not arise because they have contradiction in their own thoughts. This difficulty arises because they want each and everything perfect, they want each and everything according to their own way, so this difficulty arises. Okay, they do not have any kind of dilemma in their own mind. They have this dilemma because other people are trying to mold them in their own way. Okay, then there is financial rigidity. Obviously, these people are rigid, so they are very cautious and very conservative. These are the people, and again coming to the first generation and the third generation gap, there are the people who says that in our generation we get 10 rupees and we used to spend that 10 rupees, so you also have to get that 10 rupees. And there is a vast difference between 10 rupees in that time and 10 rupees in this time. But there are people who won't understand that. Okay, so this kind of financial rigidity we are talking about here, that people are there who talks that I am very conservative because my grandfather used to give me 100 rupees and you will also get 100 rupees. So use this 100 rupees as much as you want, but I won't give you a single penny more than that. That kind of financial rigidity comes in OCPD. Preoccupation with rules and regulation, obviously, because people are here who are very perfectionist, so obviously there is a preoccupation with rules and regulation. They are very much strict towards the rules and regulation. They have difficulty expressing affection because they are so rigid, so being emotional, being sentimental adds no value in their life. So they are very much naive to that how to express yourself. If you are crying before them, then that's very odd to them. Okay, now there's this patient who came to me and his wife started crying in front of me. Okay, and he became so awkward that how to make her silent. how to make her stop to weep, how to make her sob, make her stop sobbing. Okay, so that became very difficult for him. And these are the people who are very difficult in expressing affection. They don't know how to express that, because they are with very beginning of the life, they are behaving as a machine, that they have to wake at 6, they have to sleep at 9, they have to do this work, they have to do that work. In this life, they have not been taught how to express that emotion, how to add that sentimental value. And that is what causes this, that they have difficulty in expressing affection. Then there is preservation, obviously, because holding each and everything in their life is there. So preservation is that, and lack of insight is there. Now talking about what is the basic difference between OCD and OCPD. What is the basic difference between obsessive compulsive disorder and obsessive compulsive personality disorder? Okay. Obsessive compulsive disorder are basically what obsessions and intrusive unwanted thought, urges, distress or anxiety, which you cannot hinder out of your brain. You have to do this in a certain thing, and that is what there is always a certain thought that you have to do this. You have to wash your hand, you have to arrange things in a orderly manner, and that is always there. A kind of thought, a kind of urge which is always added there, and that is what the problem in OCD. In OCPD it is not there. Okay, in OCPD there is always a personality trait, which is perfectionism, which is need for control, which is behavior and thought pattern. Okay, so the basic difference between OCD and OCPD is what? There is a urgent thought in OCD which reminds you of doing certain things. Okay, like continuously washing your hand, like continuously sanitizing yourself. That is what a kind of thought which comes into your mind, and you do that repetitive behavior. In OCPD, there is nothing like that. In OCPD, there is a personality trait that you have to be of certain way. Okay. Now we are talking about the whole body and soul. Okay. In OCD, there is just a thought and you have to repeat that. Then there is insight and distress. In OCD, you have to typically recognize that there is obsession and compulsion towards it, irrational or excessive thought, and you are continuously repeating that. In OCPD, there is not that. There is often lack of insight in the impact, because they do not know that there is a problem with them. Okay, so there is a lack of insight in them. But in OCD, there is not any kind of lack of insight. They know that there is a thought which is distressing them in their life, but they will do that continuously. Okay. If we talk about onset and course, OCD usually appears in childhood, okay, or adolescence, or if a stimulus comes towards you. As in, I have seen many patients of OCD after COVID attack, because in COVID, they got so much afraid of their news that 1 million people died there, 1,000 there, 20,000 there. So they started so much that fear of infectious disease. Obviously, the rubric comes into the mind and the medicine comes, calcarea carb. These kind of people started sanitizing their hand so many times that after that, even when in 2019, 2020, 21, the COVID wave passed, in 2024 also they are doing that 10 times. They are in their office, they are sanitizing them. In their home, they are sanitizing them. Before coming home, they are sanitizing them. And that is how OCD comes into your life. That fear, that intrusive thought which comes into your life, and that how changed your life. And in OCPD, there is nothing like that. It is like in adulthood, you got some stimulus, that stimulus changed your entire personality trait, and that is how you are now. Okay, so if there is a person in 18th or in 16th years of age, and he understood that perfectionism is very important if you want your mother's and father's love. So he understood that perfectionism is very much important, discipline is very much important, and he started doing in a certain way. He started doing each and everything around him in a certain way, and that is how he converted himself, his personality trait in the age of 45. He's very much disciplined, he's very much perfectionist, he wants each and everything in an orderly manner, and that is how OCPD appears in your life. Okay, so this is the basic difference between OCD and OCPD. Now let's talk about epidemiology, why we are studying it here. So OCPD is estimated to have a prevalence of approximately 2 to 8%. In general life, 2 to 8% around you people are suffering from OCPD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder. If we talk about gender difference, then there is a slightly more common in men than in women. Okay. If we go past that, in cluster B, we were talking about antisocial personality disorder comes more in men. Histrionic personality disorder comes more in women. Narcissistic personality disorder comes more in women. And now here, obsessive compulsive personality disorder comes more in men. Okay. So gender difference comes like this in personality disorder. If we talk about age of onset, obviously OCPD usually looks when you are reaching adulthood. Okay. So adolescence to adulthood, teenage to adulthood is a very age which comes in the mind when we talk about OCPD, because that is the time when you are starting to understand how the universe works, how the people around you work, how much money is important, how much job is important, how much your life and the things around stimulus around you, how is that affecting to you. That is what comes in the life. Okay. So that is why the age of onset is obviously adolescence to adulthood. That late teenage age is very much important. Then there is always comorbidity. What is comorbidity? A person who are suffering from OCPD, they always have that kind of anxiety disorder, or they always have kind of anger issues. Why? Because since they want each and everything perfect, if that is not perfect, they get anxious about it, and later in life that cause that anxiety disorder. Okay. Since they want each and everything perfect, if that does not get perfect, they want alcohol. So that they are the people who are in substance abuse. Okay. So these are the people. This is the comorbidity which you can see in a person who is suffering from OCPD. What is functional impairment? OCPD, basically, it is something which is generally considered to be less impairing. It is not a condition which impairs you for your life. Okay. It is not a condition in which you have to lie on bed and you are always bedridden, and it is not a problem which adds so much regress in your life. Okay. It is a problem, but it is a problem which adds a regression in person around you, not in your life, but person around you. They are suffering. They are the person who are suffering because of your rigidity, because of your censorious nature. Okay. So functional impairment is not about you. The functional impairment is about the people around you. Okay. And then we talk about treatment seeking. People who are suffering from, now let's go back in cluster B when we are talking about histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. These are the people who do not seek treatment, and the same goes with OCPD. These are the people who do not seek treatment by their own. Obviously, when we are talking about psychological counseling, obviously there is a dilemma in Indian society. There is a dogma that, oh my God, I'm not mad, I do not want psychological counseling. So when we talk about these kinds of personality disorder, these are not the people who think that they are suffering from something. They do not seek for treatment. It's always because they are so egocentric, they do not want that treatment. Obviously the people around them, they will suggest that you should go for treatment and you should do something like this. Let's talk about the causes. There are some genetic factors. Obviously, genetic and biological factors are obviously there. The genetic factors are what? The same goes in cluster B, the same comes in cluster C. People who are the first generation of you, if they are suffering from some kind of psychological disorder, you are obviously prone to some kind of psychological disorder. So if your mother and father is suffering from personality disorder, you can also suffer from some kind of personality disorder. So genetic factor is always there. Then if we talk about biological mapping and biological factors, the part of brain which is responsible for emotional regulation, which is responsible for decision making, that part of brain is always affected in the people who are suffering from personality disorder. So this can always be shown in CT and MRI studies. Then there is environmental factors. Obviously, environmental factors are very much important. If you have a grandfather and a father in your family who are army brats, and they talk about you that you have to wake up at 8, you have to sleep at 9, and you have to eat this kind of food, you have to exercise like that, then obviously that kind of environment around you will affect you to convert into something else which you are obviously not. So that kind of factor always adds the cause. Okay. Now let's understand this kind of thoughts in psychological factors. Okay. There are many kind of psychological factors and psychological theories which try to explain OCPD. The first among them is psychodynamic theory. Psychodynamic theory says that there is an unresolved conflict and unconscious process inside your brain, and that unresolved conflict and unconscious process particularly related to your early childhood experience, and that form your personality. Okay. So according to the psychodynamic theory, individuals who are suffering from OCPD, that may be rigid, that may be perfectionist, but this is a cope-up method. Okay, this is a kind of method which is coming out because you are so anxious, because you are so insecure, because you feel that you are inadequate, and that is why to remove that inadequacy, you are trying to behave that rigidity, and you are trying to behave in a certain way. Okay. Then there is cognitive behavioral theory. This CBT simply says that individuals who are suffering with OCPD, they may hold rigid and perfectionist beliefs about themselves. They are holding this kind of behavior. They are holding this kind of thought pattern throughout their life. And that is why that kind of holding towards that emotion converted them into the same emotion. Okay. Then there is learning theory. This learning theory says that OCPD may be learned through environmental reinforcement and conditioning. Obviously, we have already talked about that if you are in a family where your grandfather is also an army person and your father is also an army person, then obviously they'll convert you into something which you are already not, because they are so disciplined, they are so rule inbounded that you will convert into them. If you will, they'll start pressurizing you that wake up at 8, sleep at 9, eat this kind of food, do exercise regularly, obey your masters, then obviously you will convert into something. And that is what learning theory is talking about. Attachment theory. Attachment theory basically proposes that early attachment experience with primary caregivers play a significant role in shaping personality development. Okay, this example I have already given to you. So let's understand. There is this family who only give love to you, or who only shows affection to you if you get 99.99%. If you get anything less than 90%, they don't care about you. Okay. Uh, they don't show love towards you. So obviously, since they are your primary caregivers, you obviously want that love. So for seeking that affection, for seeking that love, you start doing things in a very certain way, because to please them. Okay. And that certain way, doing that for 10 years or 15 years changes your personality, changes. And that, and the last is personality theory. Personality theory basically talks about that 5-factor model. 5-factor model of personality is what? Characterized by extreme level of certain personality trait, particularly consciousness and neuroticism. Okay. Individuals with OCPD may score high because the measures of consciousness is not as per the normal people. Okay. So if there is a scorecard method, then obviously the people who are suffering from OCPD, since they are so perfectionist, since they are so rigid, they'll always score high than normal person. Let's come to the diagnosis part. We have some assessment tools which can help us to understand what are the diagnostic criteria for OCPD. Firstly, if here are some research students who want to do research about any kind of psychological disease, including OCPD, then here are some questionnaires. Please take the screenshot of this. This can help you in kind of assessing that. Okay. These questionnaires are Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder Scale, Personality Diagnostic Questionnaire 4, SCID5, MCMI4, MMPI2, and PID5. Okay. These are the 6 questionnaire scales which can help you in understanding OCPD in a much better way. Okay. Let's come to the DSM-5, which helps you in the diagnosing that part. Okay. I have moved one slide because let's understand DSM-5 first, and then we will go back. Okay. So DSM-5 basically divides in 3 parts. The first is a pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and mental interpersonal control. These are few points, and if you understand these few points, they'll ask these questions, and if these questions satisfy with you, then they'll give you +1 or 0. Okay. If you are preoccupied with details, rules, list, order, organization, or schedules, then +1. If you show perfectionism that interferes with task completion, +1. Is excessively devoted to work and productivity to the exclusion of leisure activities, +1. Is overconscious, scrupulous, and inflexible, +1. So these are some kind of certain questions which are given in DSM-5, and these are divided in 3 parts. Okay, A, B, and C. So if you are taking these kinds of question that, yeah, this is my life, and obviously, yes, I am timetable perfect, and yes, I am rigid, and I am inflexible, then +1, +1, +1, and that adds on to a certain level, which helps you in diagnosing that yes, this person is suffering from OCPD and yes, this person is not suffering from OCPD. Okay, so this is a sword which goes bilateral, that can diagnose you and that can help you leave out that no, this person is not suffering from OCPD. So these are the questionnaires. Let's go to the modern treatment part. What does modern treatment gives you? That if you are suffering from OCPD, what does modern treatment provides you? There's the first is psychotherapy. Okay, the first is cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically, cognitive behavioral therapy is a structured and goal-oriented form of therapy that helps individual identify and challenge that maladaptive thought pattern which was in your life, and that perfectionism and that developing more flexible coping strategies. So basically, what cognitive behavioral therapy do is make you understand that what is the problem in your thought process, where you are wrong, and where you can change that. Okay, so that thought process should be understood and that should be removed, and there when cognitive behavioral therapy comes into the game. The next is dialectical behavioral therapy. DBT basically combine elements of CBT. CBT is what? Cognitive behavioral therapy, and with mindfulness based technique to help individuals regulate emotion, improve interpersonal relationship, and tolerate distress. Okay, so basically here not only understanding what is wrong in you is not the only solution. Here we are trying to regulate that emotion, that oh my god, if you are feeling anger, then you have to cope up this anger in this way. If you are feeling anxiety, then you have to vent out this anxiety in this certain way. So here we are understanding your problem, and also we are trying to remove that problem in a certain ways, that how you have to vent out that emotion healthfully and without harming your brain, without harming your personality trait. Okay, the next is schema therapy. Schema therapy targets deeply ingrained patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving known as schemas. So basically, there is a scheme, there is a pattern which is made, which tries to dig into you, that what you are thinking, what you are feeling, and how you are behaving, and they'll try to observe all of that. They'll try to make tables and patterns about that, and then they'll try to solve the problem, that how this comes into your mind and how you have to remove that. The next is medication. Obviously, there is no specifically medicine which is approved for OCPD. So there is no medicine in any kind of medicinal treatment in modern method that can be given to you, that oh, if you are suffering from OCPD, eat this medicine. No, there is no certain medicine which can be given that if you are suffering from OCPD, then eat that. No, there is not. It is always that if you are emotionally in problem, then take medicine as per that. If you are feeling anxious, anti-anxiety. If you are having problem in sleep, then sleeping pills, and according to that only. Okay, then there are some self-help strategies. Obviously, there is a stress management, there is time management, and there is social support. Social support is always important. If a person is suffering from certain kind of disease, people around them always affect that it is always directly proportional to people who are suffering from any kind of psychological disease. Okay, so the friends and family are always important, that any kind of suffering, if you are suffering from any kind of different anxiety or personality trait or depression, the social support or the social family who are around you will always affect you in a very direct proportional way. Okay, now coming last to the topic, how homeopathic treatment can help you. Firstly, let's talk about the rubrics. Since I'm a repertory student, let's talk about the rubrics. What these 5 points of the key features and what these symptoms can show you. So what are the repertorial rubrics which can help you? I have taken these from the synthesis repertory, okay, from Frederick Schoen synthesis. Mind ailments from striving for perfection, because he's a perfectionist. Mind checking twice or more must check. Since he's perfectionist, he checks each and everything 2 times. So there is this twice or more checking. Mind cleanliness mania for. Mind contradiction, intolerant of contradiction, because he's a dictatorial person. Mind controlling everything. Mind delusions, beautiful rags even seem, because he's a person who holds each and everything. Mind delusion, rags are fine as silk, hold, obviously because he's a holder. Mind dogmatic, since he's dictatorial. Mind fastidious, perfect way, wants to perform things in a way. Okay, since he's a perfectionist. We have taken mind fastidious. Mind forgotten something, feels constantly if is. Because he's a perfectionist, he always feels that he has forgotten something. So mind forgotten something. Mind obstinate, mind order desire for everything into order, desire to put. Mind perfectionist. Sorry. Mind rest, cannot rest when things are not in a certain way. Mind self-control increased. Mind washing, desire to wash. So these are the rubrics which I have taken into consideration. And these are the medicines which came later on. Carcinosinum, sulfur, arsenic, kali sulf, sepia, natramur, syphilinum, and the list goes on. Okay. So these are the rubrics which I took into consideration, and these are the medicines which I got into the repertorial sheet. If any medicine or any rubric anyone wants to suggest, then please go ahead and give it into the chat place. Let's understand the carcinosin. Obviously, carcinosinum is here because carcinosinum is a person who is always emotionally sensitive, who is always emotionally available. He always wants to please each and every person around him. He's like a pizza that if you want cheese into me, then give me that. If you want mushroom into me, give me that. If you want olive, if you want jalapeno, if you want capsicum, anything can be added as a topping. Okay. So carcinosinum is a kind of person who is too emotionally sensitive and too emotionally available for everyone around him. Okay. So that is why he is a person who gets affected if his primary caregiver wants things in a certain way. Okay. And that is why OCPD come into play in carcinosinum. Carcinosinum has his own anxiety and fears that may experience various anxiety, fears particularly related to health, safety, and well-beings of their loved ones. These fears may manifest as hypochondria or excessive worry about health issues. There is always restlessness and impulsivity in carcinosinum. There is desire for change because despite their desire for stability, despite their desire for control, individuals are there in carcinosinum who always want, who always crave changes, who always want that this should change. My life has got so monotonous, it should change. Okay. So carcinosinum has some symptoms like that. And they always have artistic tendencies. See a rubric, there is art ability for. If you see this rubric in synthesis repertory, you have certain medicines which include sulfur and carcinosinum. Okay. These are the people who have artistic abilities. And then there is a rubric known as mathematics ability for, and there is silesia mentioned there. Okay. So silesia is not always dumb. Some people think that silesia, calcarea carbon, baryta carbon, certain medicines who are dumb. No, they are not dumb. Okay. Silesia is a medicine which has ability for mathematics. Then there is a rubric dancing ability for, and CPI is mentioned there, and Nux vomica is mentioned there. Okay. So there are people who have certain artistic abilities. Again, coming to sulfur. Sulfur is a person who is very meticulous. He wants each and everything around him is in a certain way, who is very disciplined, who is very responsible. And that is why only when a person who is suffering from anxiety and a person suffering from fear, Organon always tells us to go with firstly anti-psoric. Okay. Why? Go in A.K. Das third volume, because I can't refer you B.K. Sarkar, so I'm talking about A.K. Das. In A.K. Das third volume, there is a chapter known as mental diseases. And in mental disease chapter, there is later a flow chart which is made telling you that what medicine could be given there. Okay. And they talk about that in any kind of, they divide mental disease into 4 parts. Okay. The psychosomatic, somatopsychic, and according to these 4 types. Okay. And in all of that, they always talk about that firstly give antipsoric. Why? In antipsoric, 2 medicines are the top grade, sorinum and sulfur. Both have their own anxieties, both have their own fear, and how that comes into the play. Because in the beginning, they both have very meticulous life. They both have very disciplined life. They both rise and shine kind of person. They are very responsible. They have a timetable kind of life. And that is why they later on goes with anxiety and fears. Okay. So that's how that come into play. They are intellectual, they are philosophical. Untidiness is obviously a part of sulfur. Independence and non-conformity, restless and agitation, warmth intolerance, skin conditions is always the best part of sulfur. Obviously, we all know that. And then there is lack of concentration. Always understand that sulfur do many times present with gastric disturbance. A person who is a sulfur, they always have some kind of disturbance, and that is why hypochondriac nature and that boisterous nature comes into play. Then there is arsenic album. Obviously, arsenic album is a kind of person who is very disciplined, who is very meticulous, and these are the person who usually this is the medicine which is usually given in OCD. Obviously, okay. So these are the person who are fastidious for cleanliness. They have mania for cleanliness. They want desire for company, and they have physical weakness and fatigue. So these kinds of symptoms are usually into play when we talk about arsenic. Okay. Kali Sulf. Why Kali Sulf is here? Because Kali family is usually a family, carbon family is usually there. Kali family is usually a family who is always very emotional. Okay. Kali family wants to always do things in a certain way because people around them want it. Okay. When we talk about Kali Karb, even coming to the Kali Self, these are the person, Kali family is a person who always behave as per the people around them. If husband wants things in a certain way and my HOD wants thing in a certain way, I'll do that thing in a certain way, even if I want to or even if I don't want to. Okay. So Kali family is usually a person around that. They are the people who are timid. They are the people who are bashful. Kali family is always recognized with sticky discharges from nose, and these are the people who always maximum time suffer with a backache. Kali family usually have backaches there. Okay. These are the people who are usually of dark complexion, of short height, and that is the main play of Kali. Okay. The Kali family comes there. These are the people who are usually chilly. Now, how Kali family comes into the play of OCPD? Because these are the family who are people pleaser. Okay. They want to do things according to your way. You always want that you should wake at 9, you should rise and shine, you should exercise, you should do morally correct. Then obviously, since you wanted that, they became like that. Okay. And that's how Kali Self came into play. Kali Self has respiratory symptom, skin conditions, mental fatigue, mood swings. Obviously, mood swings is always there. In any kind of Kali family, you are talking about Kali Karb, Mate, Kali Floor, and Kali Self, they have mood swings. And fatigue and weakness, obviously cravings, such as sweets, spicy food, or sour foods, and then joint pain. And this is how my topic ends. This is whole for the day. Thank you very much. And if there's any kind of question, we have still 4 minutes left. Let's talk about that.
Thank you, Doctor. It was a wonderful session. Can you stop the slide sharing?
Yeah, please. Yes.
And the participants, if you want to ask any questions regarding the subject, you can ask him. It was crystal clear the way you are explaining. Your slides are very arranged. Nice. Very, very good presentation and great awareness also for us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
And the participants, Dr. Manoj, you have to start.
Ma'am, I think we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah, okay.
Can
you
I
can
take
answer.
that?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah. All these medicines in which potency? Ma'am, these are only examples that these medicines can be used. Okay. Dr. Latha, ma'am. Ma'am, these are usually the medicines which usually there is present when we talk about the rubrics. Okay. People which we are talking about, they usually do not come with these rubrics. Okay. Usually what I have prescribed, if we talk about, I have prescribed maximum time sulfur, arsenic, and Nux vomica. Nux vomica always comes into play when we talk about people like these. And the potency, since you are asking, I usually use 50 millisiemal potency. I don't have 30 and 200 much. Okay. So I usually use 50 millisiemal potency. So 0/1, 0/2, and 0/3 are usually more applicable as per me, because I usually go with them. And even if I have to suggest, they are more easily used. They can be more easily used, and they're more applicable in psychological diseases. And this is only my certain view. So as per me, I would like to use that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.